will be in Helverbia.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and of course, good night. So, this is something a little bit different, not my usual style of video. It's just something I wanted to try, to change things up a little bit. The game you're seeing in the background is Borderlands 1, seeing as Perry and I have been hardcore binging the entire Borderlands franchise, and I thought it would be appropriate to have in this video. I haven't really done any streams in a while, and you guys are probably thinking,
Metalcore, where's all the devilishly good streaming content at?
well, here's the thing. I'm currently in the process of switching colleges, and my education has been a huge problem for me the last year and a half. So let me explain what's going on. If you don't want to hear that story, skip to the timecode on the screen for the TLDR. My first year was absolutely amazing. It really was. I was enjoying myself, happy that I chose the thing that I knew I wanted to do. I was getting amazing grades, as in straight 8, 9s, and 10s, with the occasional drop to like a 6. For you American people, that would be like B's and A's with some occasional C's. Sure, sometimes things were a little rough around the edges, but we were somewhat of an experimental year, so that was to be expected. Now the second year is where things really started going wrong. Everything kept becoming more chaotic, teachers were absent for most of the year. They hired these weird elementary school teachers as replacements. Like, no joke, we had this one lady who literally made us take turns reading lines from the projector. It was super weird and incredibly awkward. Grades for resits of entire tests took more than half a year to be entered into the system, and we constantly had to pester teachers with multiple emails over literal months in order to get anything done. So, not only were things going tits up from my college's perspective, but I was also going through some personal struggles at the time, which, well, greatly affected my motivation and general well-being. The chaos from college and the fact that my grades were dropping like a floating corpse with a few cinder blocks tied to it just felt like another kick in the face while I'm laying on the ground bruised and bleeding out already. So I started feeling like I was just straight up throwing my future away and was slowly going down the same road as my dad did when he was around my age, who also failed his school back in the day and now has to do low-earning, high-hour physical labor because he simply won't get hired anywhere else. And even up to this day, he's still using himself as an example to me and my younger brothers to get a good diploma so we don't have to follow the same fate. To say my second year sucked is a huge understatement. I felt like everything was out of my control and that I couldn't change my situation at all, which especially sucks for a person such as myself because I hold myself responsible for literally everything. So I started to get kind of desperate at the end of the year and decided to redo the second year because of the lack of gain points, which was an incredibly naive move on my part because things weren't going to get any better during this year either. So during the first quarter of this year, I only had to do one single test for development, which was a test consisting of multiple choice questions and a small coding assignment where they give you a complete program based off of code you've learned and they remove a few lines that you have to fill in again in order for the code to work again. That we had to write on paper for whatever reason. Like, the assignment was given to us on our laptops and we could use them for testing the code, but the lines of code you filled out you had to physically pen down on the test. Confused? Me too, but this is my college where they literally pull this kind of shit all the time. Now, these single or double lines of code they removed were quite simple. Small definitions of variables, maybe fill in 1 or 2 logic lines inside of a loop, pretty self-explanatory. And there's only one way to make that code work as it's intended. There's literally nothing else you can fill in. Now, shortly after, we heard that they decided to invalidate the tests because suspicions of fraud. Why? Because a lot of students had the exact same answers written down. Well, that's because you literally can't fill anything else out. You fucking what, mate? You will not believe how loud the sound of my head hitting my desk at home was when I received that email. I just couldn't believe it. I thought it was a joke at first, to be honest, but no. They actually thought people were cheating because of that. I literally can't even right now. So this was basically the point where I snapped. I felt like we just weren't taken seriously at all. I mean, I'm paying 2,000 euros a year for this sort of lackluster education. To sit in a classroom, listen to a teacher who barely knows what he's talking about, and then be shooed away again after like an hour or two. The last time I did some actual programming during class was like 2 years ago. After that, we never did it again. So, as one usually does when one's no longer satisfied with the services they're being provided, I've left some complaints with my mentor in the naive hope that they'll do something with it, and I'm taking my time, energy, and money elsewhere. I've gotta say, taking that decision has been the absolute best one I've taken in quite a while, which is only topped by me asking Perry to go into a relationship with me. That was honestly the best decision of my life. Love you, Annie. So, I finally feel in control again, like I'm deciding how to live my life rather than letting my life decide that. That doesn't mean it isn't still stressful as hell though. I've got a lot of things to consider, pay attention to, and figure out. And things will become slightly more complicated if the college I'm in contact with decides to refuse my request to switch over halfway during the year. To wrap things up and to give you guys a TLDR on what this all means, my college experience from the second year onward is like a train wreck, in that it takes me nowhere. It's been absolute trash and has sucked the passion out of the thing I love doing the most, and I've been severely underperforming for around a year and a half. I'm now in the process of switching colleges, which will most likely still take a week or two before I get any definitive answers on what's going to happen, but it is being worked on very, very hard. So this means that I will probably not be streaming during that time because I'm simply too stressed out to really enjoy bringing you guys my normal style of content. And honestly, if I can't give it my all, I'd much rather give myself some time until I do. In the meantime, I'll see if I can get some edited videos out or things such as cracking the core. All I can really say is my most sincere apologies, but I really just have to take care of myself right now and, have my priorities in the right place. Because if this doesn't work out, things are going to get a lot more complicated in the future. In the meantime, I will keep you guys updated the best I can. Be sure to join my Discord. Link to that is in the description if you want to remain as up to date as possible with the current going-ons. For now, I bid you guys adieu and will hopefully return to my normal schedule as soon as possible. Thank you guys so much for sticking around, and I will see you guys in the next stream or video. Peace!
Wow, I like it. Keep it coming. You're tougher than I expected.